When a pass hangs in the air, time seems to stop. But on the pitch, time is a resource a player is completely out of. In top-tier leagues like the Premier League, once a player receives the ball, they have an average of 1.2 seconds to make a decision. That is the entire window to control the pass, assess the field, and execute a move before defensive pressure collapses. Because that window is so tight, waiting for the ball to arrive before formulating a plan guarantees failure. A player relying on their physical reaction time to figure out their next move has already lost possession. To process the game faster, the world's best players use a highly specific, highly counterintuitive technique. They intentionally look away from the ball. Physical sprinting speed gets a player to the spot, but cognitive processing is what allows them to act once they arrive. In the modern game, the most valuable form of pace is the data gathered before the ball even reaches their feet. This process is called scanning. It is the continuous, rapid checking over the shoulder to gather spatial data, tracking where teammates are shifting, where opponents are pressing, and where open zones are forming. Legendary manager Arsène Wenger observed this trait early on, famously noting that elite players possess a head like a radar. This chart compares head turns over a 10-second window. Elite playmakers spike at 0.8 scans per second, but timing is specific. They execute looks in the milliseconds between teammates' touches. When the ball changes pace, their eyes snap back. You can see this spatial intelligence in action with U.S. women's national team midfielder Kristie Mewis. Her visual focus tracks away from immediate pressure, constantly evaluating the geometry of the field and identifying pockets of space before a pass arrives. By the time the ball is actually traveling toward her, the scan has created a complete mental map. The complex tactical decision of where to move the ball next is finalized before her boot ever makes physical contact. That 1.2-second window officially begins the instant physical contact is made. To maximize this fraction of a second, elite training programs break the first touchdown into a cognitive blueprint known as the ASE framework: attack, space, execute. In the attack and space phases, the player relies on their pre-scan mental map to instantly drive the ball away from an incoming defender and directly into a pre-identified open zone. That brings us to execute. This is the final physical action, the perfectly weighted pass, the shot on goal, or the sharp turn. It flows seamlessly because the player already secured the necessary space. An amateur uses their first touch merely to get the ball under control. An elite player uses it to eliminate defenders instantly. A world-class first touch relies on the pre-scan to function. It operates as a tactical weapon disguised as a physical gesture. Executing this weapon requires moving at high speeds in incredibly tight spaces. A player has to maintain perfect bodily discipline to outmaneuver defenders without committing a foul. This diagram illustrates the strict 2026 handball rules. The boundary for legal shoulder contact ends exactly at the bottom of the armpit. Anything below that line is an illegal touch. The rules also heavily penalize making the body unnaturally bigger. A player's arm position must be a justifiable, natural consequence of their movement, like jumping for balance. Spreading arms wide to block passing lanes instantly violates this clause. And under the accidental goal rule, intent no longer matters for attackers. If an attacking player accidentally handles the ball before a goal is scored, the goal is completely nullified. Players have to outthink their opponents in 1.2 seconds, while managing their physical momentum to stay within the specific, technical boundaries of the law. Despite perfect scanning and flawless physical technique, the margins are incredibly small. Heavy touches happen, passes will miss, arms brush the ball. When that happens, players face a severe psychological danger known as the impact bias. The human brain naturally bookmarks failure and exaggerates its negative effects during high-stress situations. Allowing this bias to take root creates learned helplessness. Players begin to hesitate. They stop scanning the field. Their speed of play collapses because they lose belief in their ability to dictate the outcome. This flowchart shows the elite recovery mechanism used to combat that hesitation, the 3R approach: rationalize, recall, refocus. This mental cycle intercepts an error and instantly reframes it as neutral feedback, clearing the player's mind for the next possession. Athletes condition themselves to execute this cycle through daily habits. Practices like positive self-talk and box breathing slow down the parasympathetic nervous system, allowing them to process the 3 Rs clearly, even under the deafening pressure of a stadium. Football is played with the body and governed by physical laws, but the difference between maintaining that 1.2-second pace and collapsing under pressure is determined by how quickly the brain can reset after a mistake.